The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter with his KVNU News Update, brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 39-year-old Providence man accused of downloading hundreds of child pornography files has waived his right to a preliminary hearing. Chad David Hubbard was arrested January 24th after police reportedly seized more than 850 images and videos at his home. According to court records, Hubbard appeared Monday in First District Court in Logan for a preliminary hearing where a judge would have determined whether or not to bind the suspect over for trial. He was previously charged with 14 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony. After waiving the hearing, defense attorney Ray Maloof entered pleas of not guilty to the charges. He asked for time to continue negotiating the case with prosecutors. Hubbard is currently out of jail on $1,500 bond. He could face up to 15 years in prison if convicted. The mayor of Corinne, a town recently hit by a deluge of rain, expressed sorrow at the devastation caused by the latest downpour. In striking contrast to the spring flooding, which pales in comparison to the recent storm, the community is grappling with the aftermath of intense rain that has left its mark on homes and streets. Mayor Shane Baton, speaking with a mix of concern and determination, noted that Corinne had never before witnessed such a torrential downpour. The severity of the situation was palpable as homeowners, reluctant to appear on camera, shared their exhaustion and frustration. The mayor explained that he kept getting phone calls that people's sump pumps were not keeping up. He also acknowledged the justified frustration of the citizens. The city, with a population of roughly 900, found itself inundated by several inches of rain within a remarkably short span of time. The sounds of water being pumped out of homes painted a somber picture of the ongoing recovery efforts. The mayor explained that many residents felt that the city should bear the responsibility of managing the influx of water. He mentioned the requests for pumps and other equipment to alleviate the crisis. However, the city had already deployed its entire arsenal of resources to address the crisis at hand. And Real Salt Lake's game was delayed due to weather as a severe thunderstorm moved over Utah Thursday night. Attendees were asked to seek shelter in covered areas of the stadium due to severe weather in the vicinity. The lightning storm was moving directly overhead at America First Field in Sandy. The soccer team tweeted just before 8:30 last night during the game against Club Leon that the game was delayed due to lightning in the area. According to RSL Salt Lake's Twitter, they advised fans to use the west and east entrances to exit the stadium and to shelter in their vehicles. It was not known how long the weather delay was going to last. About an hour after the original post, the game remained delayed due to frequent lightning in the area. Looks like we're pretty much done after tonight. Chance of a few storms early this evening, especially extreme northern Cache County and also into southeastern Idaho, but becoming mostly clear later on tonight, low around 50. And then a nice day tomorrow, sunny and mid-80s for the high. You can always get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com. Weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. If warm summer nights make it hard for you to sleep, check out the copper-infused gel memory foam mattress at U&I. You'll sleep cooler and more comfortably. Always a better buy at U&I, downtown Logan, 28 West, 1st North.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006. What if you could come home every day to a peaceful retreat nestled in the mountains? A place that's only minutes from downtown Logan, but offers access to national forests from your own backyard, surrounded by mountains, horse riding, hiking trails, babbling brooks, and more. All this at Maple Creek Ranch, which is now in its 4th and final phase of development. 2.5-acre lots, your own piece of paradise that's remote yet accessible. And road improvements will be completed this summer. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Go to maplecreekranch.net. Maple Creek Ranch, just east of Franklin, Idaho.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello?
Is this Darren Hall?
It is.
I understand you're a school janitor at the elementary school. How many years have you been a janitor at Wellsville Elementary?
Wellsville, I've been there for 6 years, but I've been doing it for the school district for almost 16.
Man, I bet you've cleaned a lot of gum under desks, haven't you, in those 16 years?
More than my share, I would say, yeah.
Well, Darren, hey, to pay you back, I've got a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs.
Well, thank you. That is awesome.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It is the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan joining us here in the studio, and there's a few.
Sorry, I said I just John Mayered this mic.
It's weird to watch him.
Sometimes he really
right?
gets his lips really close to the.
This is,
and I'm a John Mayer fan, but I'm just telling you, like, yeah. So if you were really close to this mic today, Jason, we just mingled our germs.
We sanitize in between.
I did not see that happen today. I call false.
Actually, I did not, but it happens when I come in. So you only got my germs.
That's all right. As long as they didn't get Al Lewis's germs. Just kidding, Al.
I think he's
driving here.
Oh, no, he's back.
He's going to punch me in the face.
He's been gone, but he's back.
We were just roasting Shark Week during the break.
Yeah, with Meg to The Trench in theaters. Wait, really quick, we shouldn't totally make fun of movies like Meg because there's an audience for them.
I'm a Shark fan.
They're stupid throwaway, basically horror movies, and so yeah. But it's don't go into this expecting, oh, this looks a lot like Jaws.
This is going to be an Oscar contender, possibly.
It will not.
I read Meg back in 1996, the book by Steve Alton. It was this, back then it was this.
I forgot it was a book.
It was, and it's a really dumb book, by the way. But it's an inspirational. I shouldn't say inspirational story. At the time, as a however old I was, young writer. I remember my dad bought me this book, and Steve Alton has this forward in it where he's like, look. One day I'm sitting at the checkout counter at Albertsons, and I'm like, I hope I don't bounce a check. And then, like, the very next day, Disney's like, hey, we'd like to buy the movie rights for this for $3 million, And so that was kind of a cool thing. But the book
I like stories like that.
The book's corny. I don't think he was an official. I think he was like an amateur oceanographer kind of guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, the closest thing to that type of story is probably The Martian with Andy Weir. That type of thing.
Oh, that's another cool story.
Yeah, it is a cool story.
He was publishing it bit by bit on Amazon or something like that.
Yep.
And getting like 99 cents a download, and then somebody's like, we will buy this book from you,
right,
and make it into a movie with Matt Damon.
Yep.
And then you'll write a second book, and it will go nowhere, even though it was good too.
Well, it was called, I think, Meg the Trench, right?
Yeah, Meg the Trench.
Yeah, and this is what this is, Meg to the Trench. So I haven't seen it. I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure, based on my screening list, it wasn't screened for critics. Which, because interesting thing, we don't have time to talk about this, but maybe in the future shows, as things start to slow down with summer, we should talk about. I saw an article, I think it was in The Guardian, and somebody posted it in our the Utah Film Critics Society group, and it basically said something to the effect of, do we even need movie critics now that there's like influencers?
I don't like that at all.
And you know what I've said, right? I'm not saying this to to put myself out of a job necessarily.
Sure.
But with the advent of social media, it really did change, I think, the whole face of film criticism and entertainment reviews, because everybody's an entertainment reviewer now, right?
But the thing is, though, there's
they might be dumb ones.
Yeah,
but
there's quality reviewing, and then there's a guy with a YouTube channel.
Well,
reviewing.
and I'm not even talking about.
And sometimes those are not useful.
Well,
as far as I mean, because think of how most people. I think this is how most people engage with critics. There are a bunch of movies coming out, and I want to know, what I should see, what I shouldn't see. But let's be honest. Roger Ebert, what was it? Ebert and
Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert wasn't popular because people agreed with them or liked their reviews or found them to be spot on and trustworthy. They liked them because it was an entertaining show to watch.
Watch them sparring.
And sometimes you learn some history or some background about the films, and you're not finding that from amateur YouTube film critics.
And let's be honest, I don't think people, quite frankly, outside of what I would say sort of like the film lovers, are not going, oh, I wonder what this critic thinks about this. Maybe I'll check and see before I go.
Yeah.
No, normally, I mean, so I think some people check content, things like that. But I think for the most part, people are looking for blurbs and headlines. I don't think anyone's reading, outside of somebody that really likes to read about film and movie.
I've noticed a pattern with me. I read more critical reviews of films I plan to see. Like, I'm going to see it. I've already decided to see them.
So,
like Oppenheimer, for example. I knew I'd be seeing that. But I read a lot of different critics on that because I was curious how people were interpreting it, what they were saying about it. And
I don't typically, this is going to sound terrible, but I do two things before a movie. I know some of my film critic brethren and sistren, I don't know if that's the right word or a real word, but they don't watch trailers at all. They don't want to be even remotely.
Isn't that who's the Tribune guy? Scott Pierce or Scott D. Pierce? Is that?
He's the TV guy. But
he's the TV guy. He says he doesn't watch previews for the content he writes about at all.
Yeah, Scott Renshaw of the City Weekly. I believe Scott does not watch trailers. I don't know about anyone else. I'm a nostalgia pop culture. That's my part of my thing, and I love trailers. I like getting excited about things. Yeah. So I'll watch the trailers. I will not typically read about the movie or read
that makes sense though,
other reviews about it,
because you're going to have to come up with your own.
Yes.
And so that you don't want to just be repeating something you read.
Well, and I don't want to be. I like to go in and kind of get my own, or whatever. Here's an interesting thing though. Going back to Meg, is that's I was looking at the grades because someone asked me last night. They said, "So what are your favorite movies of the summer so far?" And I thought, golly, that's a great question. There's been a lot of content this summer, right now, as of today,
this is the closest I think we've not real close, but the closest we've come to 2018 since 2018.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's not even close still, but
there's still some things I think are a little bit hiccupy.
I just mean release wise.
Oh, sure,
like big stuff, things that got
pre-COVID.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week, but the Barbenheimer thing, that's the first time we've seen something like that happen since the pandemic, where you had
been a while.
These viral moments around movies, and everybody's just excited and having fun with it. And then it ends up selling tickets because it's viral. And that hasn't happened for a few years.
Yeah, it's an event movie. And
movie, yeah.
And here's, I think, the difference.
For no good reason either. It's just for fun.
It is.
Yeah.
And here's what's been fun about this year is movies like Megan, or Mithrigan, as we like to say. Mithrigan and Cocaine Bear.
That was another one that got a big viral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, again, Oppenheimer, Barbie, so Barbenheimer. Oppie Barbie. Those movies, superhero movies, Star Wars movies. I mean, we haven't had a Star Wars movie, but like an Indiana Jones movie that was, probably less successful this year. Those used to be event movies, and they're not now because there is the fatigue, like The Flash, This Blue Beetle that's coming that they're predicting will just be a complete flop, which I feel bad for too, right?
I do feel bad for it because I planned for this to be really funny and then later reach some sort of cult status popularity.
And it still might.
But I think it's going to bomb in the theaters,
Yeah,
sadly.
I think the message that people are taking...
But it looks hilarious.
The message people are taking out of this summer is that...
Batman's a fascist. That part of the trailer cracks me up every single time.
People are tired. I think there is some franchise fatigue. You look again at some of them.
There's definitely superhero movie fatigue, I think.
I agree.
The Flash suffered from that.
Well, here's an example, right?
Even though it was really good.
The Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, this new Marvel series.
I'm liking that.
That's with Samuel L. Jackson and Olivia Colman, Emilia Clarke, some really great actors. Is like bombed on like aggregator review sites like Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
and people don't like it. And I watched it and I was actually like, this is actually content I'm here for. Like, I'm okay with this. I will admit that there is a really corny fight in the finale that is just
really
seemed way too over the top. But I don't know.
I haven't gotten there yet.
If this is part of the plan or what. But anyhow,
one thing to counter the whole superhero fatigue thing that I just said, I'm willing to take that back because I've been reading about the excitement over Loki season 2.
Yeah,
and it stands to reason that there's still plenty of opportunity for success and a big hit here. It just isn't really happening.
I still think they need to pare it down.
You think there's too much?
There's too much, and I still don't think I still think Marvel has failed, whether they want to do this or not. Right? They still have failed to present a threat. And that's there's nothing
which
looming.
Is necessary.
There's nothing looming. You know what I mean? And it's just all over the place. It's just not.
I read someone just this week talking about and I don't know that I agree, but it might have been interesting in a film or two. But it said they missed an opportunity not further exploring the real life dynamics of an Avengers type team. The expense of city cleanup, the legal ramifications,
Avengers, real world,
the constitutionality of these types of fighters.
Yeah,
and soldiers.
That's what DC tried to do, and look what happened there.
Yeah, that's what I would see that movie. I would see a Marvel movie that was dealing with like the political
Batman
side of
Superman.
superheroes. Yeah, but where I disagreed with the person writing it is I don't think it's going to be a huge success.
No,
but I would see it and I would probably love it. So make it. Go ahead. I'll be there.
I still go back and I still contend that right now for future success, in my opinion, in terms of like reinvigoration. DC is way better positioned than Marvel is right now.
We talked about this, but that's what made The Flash so unfortunate.
Yeah, but I don't
because it was timing.
But The Flash wasn't part of that, though.
No, but that's what that's what's so sad is that they have their first good movie, but it's the end. Because they've already said we're killing. We made this movie, so we're still putting it out. But we're killing all of this off. We're starting from scratch.
I agree.
Which I think is a great idea. But then, ironically, the movie that's going to be the last movie of this whole years-long attempt and face plant from DC ends up being the best one.
And the other question too is like why pick and choose? So why did the Flash see the light of day, even with Ezra Miller's issues?
Yeah.
And Aquaman, Legend of the Lost Garden or whatever is going to come out in December, and that is seeing the light of day. But then Batgirl,
Somebody
did not see the light
is
of day.
going to leak Batgirl. It has to happen because everybody wants to know what was so awful about this movie that led them to say, we're just going to pretend we didn't, because it was done, right?
Yeah,
it was ready to come out, and they said, nope. We're not putting this one out.
I feel bad for Andy Muschietti, the guy that directed both It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, who took the helm of The Flash. And I feel bad for him because there's been so many writers, so many directors. And my guess is, and I don't know how these things work, but I have to think that conversation went something like, Andy, we've heard that you've expressed interest in wanting to direct a comic book movie. Yes, I would like to. I believe he's Russian.
Well, boy, have we got one
and
for
they
you.
said, all right, what, that deal, how about one for you, one for us.
Yeah.
How about you come in?
Actually, I heard that
and take this flaming.
I heard that there was a bit of. I don't know if this was written
quid
down.
pro quo.
I don't know if this was written down or signed or anything like that. But there are rumors that was kind of the deal that they said. You do us a solid, we'll let you make the movie you want to make,
which is now Batman. I think Beyond,
which I think is going to be interesting.
Speaking of franchises. So we have 3 movies we're going to talk about today.
Yeah,
I know you saw Barbie, right?
Yeah,
I'm caught up.
And Oppenheimer.
I'm
caught up. Seen Meg or I haven't seen this.
Hey, I'm going to light a vanilla candle, and it's going to be a game changer. Will it though? And after midnight, the house comes alive.
This place is haunted.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Haunted Mansion. And I want to tell
not seen it.
I want to tell the listeners before this that I also went back and watched the 2003 Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion.
I've never seen that.
You should never see it. I took one for the team and watched it. Somebody out there's like, "Hey man, I really liked that back in the day."
That came out. There was, so, speaking of things that got overdone, there was this whole era of that, of taking these people and putting them in. There were people that had been in more edgy comedies like Police Academy and Beverly Hills Cop and some of the more edgy Saturday Night Live comedies, and then they just sort of kept making movies, but it started to trend towards like PG and kids, and
that was Eddie Murphy, Dr. Dolittle,
and it made a lot of money. But
Daddy Daycare.
But I always felt like they were. So Dr. Dolittle is where I stopped because I thought it was insulting
Norbit
to kids.
Just kidding.
Like you're insulting people and children by making these movies. Kids are smarter than this.
I think this was 2 things. I think this was coming out the same time as Pirates of the Caribbean. So I think Disney at the time was like, hey, we don't have any viable franchises other than our animation and like these type of movies. And so they were like, what if we do like we're going to do with Pirates and we do a ride-themed movie, Haunted Mansion, and let's grab Eddie Murphy, who is coming off his immense success with Shrek, right?
Yeah.
And we'll throw him in this. And I can't go back 20 years and be like, you know what? That was great. I'm watching it with my today eyes. And it was not. No. Now here's another thing I'll say about
the premise. The idea isn't bad. Taking the rides. Jungle Cruise had so much potential. I don't know what happened.
I liked Jungle Cruise.
I liked it until that last third, and then I just like, what is going on?
I'm just glad that
I
they
liked
never
the one with Tom Holland and what's his face that came out at the same time that was like an Indiana
talking
Jones.
About Uncharted?
I liked Uncharted better than I liked Jungle Cruise.
You and I, we disagree. I'm different.
And Uncharted was horrible.
I thought the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and why can't I think of her name? Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. I almost said Rose Byrne, and now I feel so bad.
Rose McGowan?
No. No, not even close. Anyway.
I can't remember her name either now.
That's
what made that movie so disappointing is I really liked it.
My ginkgo biloba is not working. No, you're talking about the jungle guys.
And the airships and it just got... I don't know.
Emily Blunt. What's wrong? What is wrong with me? Emily Blunt. No, I like it. The only thing I was just so glad that they never once played. I think they played Sweet Child of Mine, but I'm so glad they never played Welcome to the Jungle.
When I heard Sweet Child of Mine, I'm like, oh,
you're like, please no.
It's gonna be GNR themed, isn't it?
Please no. I liked it. I do not. So Haunted Mansion. I think is really well done. I don't think it deserves some of the sort of the bad reviews it's getting.
So do you think, we've talked about this before, but I really feel sometimes like there's a trendiness to hating on certain things.
Sure.
And I feel like things like Haunted Mansion get caught up in that when they don't. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, sure, this is not the.
No, I will tell
most
you,
creative movie or the most.
I will tell you, most of the funny bits are in the trailer.
That's the guy from Schitt's Creek, right?
He's in it for literally 11 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I think he's hilarious.
No, I did not understand that. Winona Ryder's actually in it. She makes a cameo, which is kind of funny.
Really? That's funny.
Jared Leto plays the Hatbox Ghost. That if you're familiar with the ride,
from the ride,
it's kind of corny. It's basically this mother and this son. They move from New York to New Orleans. I don't want to
Danny DeVito too, right? Somewhere,
yeah, but he comes in a really weird spot.
Okay.
And Lakeith Stanfield is the main player in this. He's like a scientist that develops. He's not working on ghosts, but he kind of develops a camera that can take pictures of these entities. And he is married to this woman who is like I would call like maybe a ghost tour person.
Okay.
Anyhow, long story short, not to give too many spoilers. Actually, you know what? We're going to spoil the heck out of this.
We've all been on the ride.
Well, it's not really the ride so much. It's basically that he's lost his wife. When he meets up with this mother and her son, they've lost their dad.
Okay.
And they move into this house, and it's obviously haunted. But the thing that's interesting is that you can't really leave the house. Because remember in the ride when you're leaving the ride and it's like, I hope a ghost doesn't follow you home.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
And then they try to make you think one did.
Yeah, so in this, that's what happens is like, they're like, nope, we're out of here. And then they come back and they're like, well, why are you back? And they're like, because they just followed us everywhere. So might as well live here, which I thought was a little strange. But this is where we live. It's where we call home. So yeah, they recruit. Owen Wilson is a priest. Lakeith Stanfield is the kind of the ghost scientist. They get Danny DeVito, who's a historian. He knows all about the mansion. He's actually probably my favorite part of the whole show. Yeah, he's really funny. They get Tiffany Haddish comes in as sort of a medium. She's pretty funny. I think sometimes she's a little overpowering. Jamie Lee Curtis shows up as Madame Leota, which, again, if you've ridden the ride, you know who this is.
Do you know she writes children's books about climate change?
It'd be cool if she wrote a book about being a medium.
I just learned that about Jamie Lee Curtis this week.
But I would say, here's what I'd say, is I think this is pretty family-friendly. It's not super scary. I thought it was okay. I'd probably give it C+.
And if you're looking for something to take the kids to this weekend, this is...
Yeah, it's pretty tame.
It's this or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Which we also need to review in a future show. But Haunted Mansion, if you love Disneyland, you love the ride, I think you'll appreciate it more. Again, it's pretty decent. I would call it a family movie for the most part. Some young kids might think some things are creepy, scary, but I didn't think it was overly. Like, there was never a part where I put my hood on, my hoodie over my head. That's what I should have said.
What was your grade?
I give it like C+ B- range.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely better than the 2003, which gets a full-on D- from me.
Better than I expected for Haunted Mansion. In theaters starting today. It's the big film opening alongside Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and Meg 2 The Trench. We'll talk about those as well and more as the For the People movie show continues right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by U&I Furniture. The man accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death late last year was on a long drive by himself around the time of the deaths. That's what his defense attorneys wrote in new court documents filed this week. Brian Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of murder in connection with the deaths at a rental house near the Moscow, Idaho University campus last November. He has exercised his right to remain silent during the court case, so a not guilty plea was entered on his behalf earlier this year. Lotta County prosecutor Bill Thompson has said he intends to seek the death penalty, and the case is scheduled for trial this fall, though it could be postponed. The court document filed Wednesday is the first time Kohberger has said anything about his whereabouts on the night of the stabbings. His defense team submitted it after prosecutors asked the court to force Kohberger to reveal if he intends to offer an alibi. According to defense attorney Ann Taylor, who wrote in the document that Mr. Kohberger has had a long habit of going for drives alone. Often he would go for drives at night. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th. Kohberger is not claiming to be in any specific location at any specific time, according to the document, and may have witnesses who can corroborate that he was not at the home where the students were killed. Cache County Executive David Zook is excited that cell service will soon be a reality in Logan Canyon as the first step is underway, the putting in of fiber optic lines. On KBN News for the People program on Wednesday, he said it will allow for greater safety and faster response by emergency personnel. Also a boon to quicker emergency response is the addition of a home-based life flight helicopter at Logan Regional Hospital.
I was with the CEO of Logan Regional Hospital today, Brandon, and we were talking about it, and I thanked him for what they're doing. This is a huge public safety improvement, having a helicopter based here. That it's the same type of improvement with having cell phone access in the canyon.
Yeah.
It helps with that golden hour. We know that within an hour after a traumatic accident, if you can get into an emergency room, into a trauma center, your chances of survival go way up.
Likewise, if you cannot get in that time frame, things could go in the opposite direction. Zook said having this service helps in getting the right kind of care in an expedient manner. USANA Amphitheater in West Valley City was evacuated last night due to severe weather. Event goers were told to exit the venue and seek shelter in their vehicles until further notice. It was unknown if the evacuation was temporary or if they kept it going through the night. USANA officials said in a Twitter post that, quote, "We are evacuating the venue. Calmly proceed to the nearest exit and seek shelter in your vehicles," end of quote. At around 9 o'clock last night, the original tweet was sent out, and shortly before 10 p.m., a follow-up tweet was issued notifying event goers that they were still under evacuation orders. The Offspring, with Sum 41, was scheduled to perform at 7 on Thursday. USANA officials advise event goers to always stay tuned to their social media accounts for updates when severe weather strikes. We have a few storms rumbling through the northern end of Cache County this afternoon. That will continue into the early evening hours. Those storms also right along the Utah-Idaho border. But after those clear out, later on tonight, mostly clear overnight, low in the low 50s, and then sunny mid-80s tomorrow, sunny mid-80s on Sunday as well. It was 80 degrees this afternoon. KBNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. Napa features all the best brands: Croyle, Amsoil, Schaefer, BG, Seafoam. Find the parts and oil you need to keep your car and equipment running its best at your 5 locations of Napa Auto Parts from Preston to Providence. You can always get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
Are you a hot sleeper? Warm summer nights can make it hard to sleep. UNI Furniture recommends sleeping cooler with a gel memory foam mattress. UNI features a copper-infused gel memory foam that helps with coolness and circulation. It moves better with you, giving you the best night's sleep. UNI is also the home of Chair Heaven. There's a reason they sell so many chairs, including recliners. For over 90 years, there's always been a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Thousands flooded New York City's Union Square Park after a social media influencer announced he was giving away big prizes. Police eventually restored order. NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey Mondry saying officers acted with restraint in the face of a violent mob.
We did have members that sustained some injuries out here.
And now police are questioning Kai Cenat, a celebrity on Twitch, a streaming platform which is popular with gamers. Former President Trump's expected to speak tonight at the Alabama Republican Party summer dinner. Today, his legal team signaled their intent to appeal an order which denied their efforts to have the Fulton County DA removed from investigating efforts in Georgia to overturn the 2020 election. Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott visited the U.S.-Mexico border today. The South Carolina senator says he would shift funding for new IRS agents to strengthening border security. Stocks closed lower today. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Hi everyone, this is Lena Miller, your 2023 Cache County Fair and Rodeo Junior Princess. I am inviting you to come celebrate the 144th anniversary beginning August 9th through the 12th. Starts at 8 p.m. where the bright lights beckon you to shine with the stars of the rodeo during 4 action-packed nights of cowboys, bulls, and patriotism. So gallop on down in your best red, white, and blue, where my horse Chipper and I can't wait to meet you there.
Come on out, let's have some fun at the Cache County Fair.
Kind of hot in these rhinos.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan. We've been talking Haunted Mansion, which Andy actually gave somewhere between a C+, B-, better than I expected you to give it. So, and if you,
somewhere around there.
If you're just tuning in, Andy said if you're looking for something family friendly to see this weekend, this is your best bet, and a better bet than I would have predicted Andy's review to be. So,
I like to do, I like to do these because then I don't have to. And I don't have to settle on stars. Stars are so arbitrary. It's like, well, it's 3.
Well, and really,
grades give you more room.
And what's the difference between 3 and 4 stars, really? That's about the same movie. If you
Attack
ask
of
me.
the Clones and no, I'm just kidding.
Versus Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
I'm just joking.
That is. Also in theaters, we'll just mention this. We'll have a review next week, but also in theaters today, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
and
Mutant Mayhem.
Meg 2, The Trench. Next week is actually.
Have you ever seen Hannah Gadsby, the comedian, and her Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles routine? It's on Netflix.
No, but
she's a comedian, but she has like a PhD in art history. And she gets going on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and why Donatello doesn't belong. Why he's the one artist.
He's the one that shouldn't be there.
And it's hilarious, honestly. But she explains that they're named after all these Renaissance artists, but Donatello died like 100 years before all the rest of the artists that are used as turtle names. And then she also says at the very end, she goes, and also they're tortoises.
Yeah, it's true.
It says turtles are the flip-flips, tortoises are the flop-flops. And I laugh so hard every time I see that little clip. Anyway, but that's in theaters if you want to go see it.
There's a few movies coming too. Like I didn't realize this, but this next week, this Gran Turismo. It's based on a PlayStation game.
It actually looks good.
It kind of does.
It does.
And you know what sold me on it?
I'm shocked, but
what sold me on it, or what sold me on really kind of being more intrigued in seeing it, I should say, is that it's directed by Neil Blomkamp.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hey, he has a thing. I don't remember if it's on Netflix or Amazon, but he has a new thing there that's vignettes, little 20-minute stories in a 2-hour movie.
I think he's an underrated...
And it's a horror film.
Yeah,
and it's good.
He's an underrated director. There's also a couple other movies...
Still mad about District 9, though.
District 9 is not...
Best trailer ever for a movie that was not that trailer.
I did not think it was that great of a show.
Oh,
there's
I didn't
also...
like it, but the trailer was amazing.
Next week, there's another movie coming
made
out.
That movie, Neil.
There's another... Well, Neil should have been able to make the Halo movie back when Halo was a thing.
Yeah.
For those that...
that would have been a hit. Had they not
sure.
messed that
100%. They messed that up. That was Microsoft that blew it, really.
Was it?
Yeah. Microsoft, back in the day, the movie was going to cost so much money. And
it would have been worth every penny.
And studios, there was kind of a fight. So Peter Jackson was going to produce it, along with Steven Spielberg. But the studios were like, they wanted this new filmmaker, Neil Blomkamp, to be the director. And the studios balked at that. And then the studios also wanted Microsoft to either take a less of a revenue share, or they wanted them to foot some of the bill, and Microsoft wasn't willing to do that. So, because the movie was going to have to be co-produced by Universal and Fox, and it just fell apart. And honestly,
threw their hands in the air.
They blew it. They really blew it.
It's too bad because as popular as that game was at that time,
it would have been huge.
That is really quick.
Could have been a franchise. Honestly,
speaking of trailers coming up, did you see the trailer for Strays?
Yes. That's August 16th.
An R-rated comedy with Will Ferrell.
Think Homeward Bound.
Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx.
Homeward Bound.
But it's rated R, and they're dogs.
Yeah.
And I
I'm not even going to say the tagline because it's almost too close.
It's the writers of 21 Jump Street.
Yeah,
so that kind of comedy.
I think it looks funny.
It looks hilarious.
That comes out August 16th. Blue Beetle is August 18th. The other movie, there's a couple movies that come out before then, too. We mentioned Gran Turismo, which is August 9th. But there's a movie with Ben Kingsley that I think looks fantastic. It's called Jewels. And it's like an alien movie.
Yeah.
But he comes to visit, like, old people. It looks like E.T. for, like, senior citizens. And then another one, which every time I see the poster, I don't know if it's just my reading comprehension skills are reducing with age, but the movie is called The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I believe I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
Which is, again, I'm watching the most recent trailer, and they're like, I don't know who in the marketing department was like, we ought to just show the whole thing. Like, just show the monster. Like, just show it.
That nobody likes surprises.
Yeah, nobody
movies.
cares. And I thought, come on, guys, why? But every time I see the poster, I always instead of Demeter, I see Detmer, and so I think The Last Voyage of Ty Detmer, which if you're
would probably be a success,
BYU
actually.
fan,
put Ty Detmer on a boat and see what happens.
Apparently,
people would go.
It's just life story.
They'd see that.
Nobody knows this, but he finished the last part of his life on an old ship, an old wooden ship.
Do you know what's sad about the trailer for this Last Voyage thing is that the minute they show the monster, that was the point where I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
The whole trailer, I'm like, a horror movie
this
on
looks
an
kind of creepy. What's
old-fashioned
going on?
boat at sea, and then they show you the monster, and I'm like,
I might
see it later.
Yeah, the other one that I really would like to see that I don't think is I'm assuming it'll come to Cache Valley at some point, but there's have you seen the trailer for this new A24 horror movie where it's this hand that everyone kind of hold? You know what I'm talking about? I'll find the title of it. It's I think it might even be in Ogden right now. I'll have to check the listings, but
it's a horror movie?
Yeah, the movie is called Talk to Me.
Oh, I did see a poster for this.
Yeah.
That looked kind of creepy. I haven't seen the trailer or anything.
It's A24. Anytime I see A24, I'm like, well, that ought to be good.
Yeah. A24 and Blumhouse.
Hey,
those are two that you can kind of bank on for horror movies.
So we were talking before the break, Barbie. I think we both are in agreement that it's one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah, surprisingly. I think I know very few people that would not really enjoy their experience seeing this movie.
Well, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, but he's tiny.
And Ted Cruz.
I mean, that's the funniest thing is that they had to reach so far to try and make this political. It's just a funny movie.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's it. It's literally just a funny, corny movie.
But it's got great dialogue and it makes some great points. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
In a funny way.
It does. Yeah, it's one of those like a candy-coated pill. I don't think
I'll put it this way. If this movie offends you, you're just a snowflake.
I think that's accurate.
Literally the only way to say it because there is nothing offensive about this movie at all.
But really quick, though, I've seen like moms that bring their daughters there. Like, if you're bringing your little kid to Barbie, like, you clearly...
That was actually kind of fun to see. So when I went to see Oppenheimer, I was nearly mowed down in the entrance to the theater.
By people in pink?
By probably about 20 teenage girls in pink.
I loved it.
And 3 or 4 of their moms there as chaperones, I guess. And they were having the time of their life. But
if you've played with a Barbie, this... I think you'll be okay, right?
Well, because there are a lot of like Easter eggs for actual Barbie fans, right?
And just the way they did it. Like, one of the things I thought was hilarious is at the beginning of the show when Barbie, they've got the music, which is sung by Lizzo, which probably is not a cool thing to mention now. But I love when Barbie is in her house, she comes out of her house by swinging down this pole, right? Or no, it was like a slide, I think, into a pool that's not even really a pool. And then she goes back in the front door. And I was like, if that's not... Subtle things like that are so funny to me because that's how little girls or boys, whoever played with Barbies, that's how they played in those houses, right? is, it's not like you walked the doll down the stairs and out the front door, right? Like you were like somehow out of a window and then you were going in the front door. Like you're just flying between things. And that's how Barbie is, right? In the show. The other thing I thought was funny is my sisters, I remember, had a bunch of Barbies. And I think between all the Barbies, they might have had, I think they had one Ken, maybe one or two Kens. And the Kens never did anything. They just sat on the couch, and my sisters played with the Barbies. They didn't. Ken was just there. Like
he was just there if they went on a ride in a little car.
Yeah, if they got into Barbie's Corvette,
in the passenger
Ken
seat.
didn't drive the car. Ken sat in the passenger seat, and Barbie drove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think some of this like anti-man thing that's been spinning around is not really anti-man. It's just that was the thing. Kens did not have a point. They really didn't. It was Barbie's arm candy. Really. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if arm candy is the right word. So
that's.
I thought it was well done.
But he has some great. When he's talking to the nurse or the doctor.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's a hilarious scene. The double sunglasses, too, when he puts sunglasses on the sunglasses. I mean, you just got some really funny moments that will just have you rolling.
Well, and he talks about the patriarchy, but I don't think Ken knows what the patriarchy is.
Well, no, that's kind of the point in a way that,
what does that mean?
It's hilarious the way it's done and the way, and we really should talk about the cameos too, because let's not, because that's kind of the fun is you see I know that person.
I thought it was there was a couple parts that I got really emotional into. I know I've heard a lot of back and forth about America Ferrera's speech about being a woman. I thought it was perfect. I also think that at the end, when Rhea Perlman, who we won't really reveal who that is, but when she says, something to the effect of us mothers, we stand back so we can see how far, our daughters have grow or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a very tender movie. This is not a man-hating movie. This is not some woke
It's a movie that I think is going to be this is a good influence movie on young women. I think. I mean, this is one young women are going to love this, and the message is good. And
no, it's great writing.
Most of the comedy is pretty family friendly. I mean,
there's a few innuendo. It deserves the PG-13 rating for sure. This will be a Best Picture nominee. I would bet $1 million.
Which that's what's so fascinating about this is someone made what it was probably fair to anticipate would be the most throwaway movie of the year that would make its money back and maybe even sell some Barbies. But that's all I thought this would be. And then somebody said Greta Gerwig.
Yeah,
and that's what caught my eye first. I'm like, really, Greta Gerwig directing a Barbie movie?
Greta Gerwig she's
good.
Yeah, she's a great actress. In the stuff she's been in, she's hilarious.
Oh, very funny.
But I would say Greta Gerwig is an even better writer.
Yeah,
and her writing is tight. It's just on point. I mean, the question now, though, is that we've been talking about it as a film critic group is this a best original screenplay or a best adapted screenplay? Since it's coming from Barbie.
Good question, actually, because
I don't know the answer to that.
It's not adapted from any text, but pretty much the entire movie is borrowed from Barbie World, right? Yeah. Or Barbie Land is what they call
Barbie
it in the movie,
Land.
right?
Yeah, it's great. I would say, again, if you're it was interesting when I was standing in the line at the theater and I was talking to different people to hear their sort of reactions. Like, I think there's this, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't want to create controversy, but I definitely think that there are some narratives that are being spilled by, I would say, like more conservative type talking heads or media outlets.
It's one of those things where if any of the pro-woman stuff in this movie triggers you, you're the problem. I mean, honestly, I would be very blunt about that.
Well,
if you see this movie and it upsets you as a man, you have an issue.
No, I laugh,
and you need to deal with that because it's true. This is not an in-your-face lecture. This is not. This is a funny movie that has some great messages, especially for young women, and it's done in a way that anybody can laugh at it and like it. And yeah, so when I saw it, the whole time I just kept thinking, this upset people?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with those people? Those men, specifically. If a man sees this and is upset by it, yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, some of the
It's
people
got some
that
issues.
are talking about it probably haven't seen it. And this also...
Well, it's just it's like a trendy political thing now to, people were getting so excited about this, and so then they...
think Trevor Lee's seen this?
There's no. Too many words.
I'm sorry.
But I wanted to go back a little bit to you mentioned it, and I didn't know this, but the guy in Haunted Mansion.
Okay, Lakeith Stanfield?
He is in a lot of really good stuff.
He is. He's a great actor.
I hadn't made this connection. I mean, I remembered him from like Get Out and Death Note and some of those horror movies he was in before. But I and Judas and the Black Messiah, which I didn't really like as much. But I forgot he was Sorry to Bother You. He was hilarious in that.
Hilarious.
And so yeah,
no, he's good. Hey,
that's intriguing.
You know this phrase that gets said a lot. This go woke, you go broke.
No.
I think Barbie just took that and booted that to the curb.
Well, I mentioned that in hour one. Oppenheimer and Barbie. Well, I know
Barbie's made $406 million domestically this year.
Well, so remember
in 2 weeks,
in like 2022, we started talking about okay, what happens now post pandemic, and we talked most of last year about how things never really got back to where this to me is the first time that it really felt back. I know that there have been some huge moneymakers, and there have been some movies that got
but not consistent.
Yeah, this is the first time that feels like those 2018 Avengers movies days.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it is the uniqueness of Oppenheimer and Barbie, both of them coming out. But so here's something I want to point out quick before we go to our last break while we have time. But the funny thing about this is there's a story behind the scenes on all this about this Barbenheimer thing. The studios actually fought this. The thing that made these movies a viral success, which I guarantee got more excitement and tickets sold than anything the studios did, they tried to fight it. They in fact, there was, for a while, apparently, a threat of a lawsuit about forcing the other studio to release the movie on a different weekend. Because...
Well, and you got to wonder how much Tom Cruise helped that, too, right? Because he was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see both.
He joked about his own movie coming out, and he was going to go see Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Well, and that's the thing.
I'm sure they weren't happy when he said that, but it was funny.
Oppenheimer, has made a lot of money. Mission Impossible, surprisingly, is lagging behind. I mean, it's at $145 million. So I think, to your point, Jason, when we talk about the box office, if you look at these, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that the Super Mario Brothers movie would be almost close to $600 million,
which I finally saw last week, by the way,
on
a camping trip of all places, or a couple weeks ago, and that's really good.
If you'd have
told me, you haven't seen that,
well, no, and if you'd have told me Barbie would be at $406 million after 2.5 weeks of release, some of these make sense. Guardians, Spider-Man,
oh sure.
Little Mermaid, there's another one once you go woke, whatever.
But Barbie doesn't make sense.
No, Barbie doesn't. But some of these, there are some franchises in here when we look at the domestic releases for this year that should have, truthfully, would be more moneymakers, like Indiana Jones. I think Fast X is one that, Fast X made $145 million.
You know what it almost says? It almost says that post-pandemic, one of the things that may have, for the time being, have been changed by the pandemic is people really need to be motivated.
Well,
and if they are, the audience is there.
People keep ripping on Flash, that it only made $100 million.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know how much money Shazam! Fury of the Gods made? It made $57 million.
Yeah. That's
So there's some things to take from this.
The audience is out there. People are excited about movies, but I think they're just still being more picky than they were pre-2020 for whatever reason.
I think also, again, I think there's franchise fatigue.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it.
I think you've seen a lot more one-off movies do well than others.
All right, take our last break here and a few more minutes of the For the People movie show right after this.
Ready to experience a new level of local transit? Well, with the new CDTD app, it's super simple for you to plan your trip to a T. With our interactive map, you can view bus stops closest to your location with real-time arrival information. You can mark your favorite stops, get alerts, set reminders, and much more. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or it's your first ride, get moving today with the new CDTD app.
The Cache Valley Media Group is looking for someone who can shoot and edit video content for clients, events, and commercials for high school sports. Having a good understanding of DaVinci Resolve and OBS is a plus, but training will be provided. You'd also need to understand the demands of live streaming on YouTube and work with live broadcast teams. The job offers up to 30 hours a week, and we're offering $18 an hour. Share your resume with us at CacheValleyMediaGroup.com/employment. That's CacheValleyMediaGroup.com/employment.
Are you Gus's son?
I'm Owen. I'm to drive you to Wichita to catch a train?
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
Train don't run out of Wichita. Unless you're a hog or a cattle.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's For the People movie show. We covered a lot of ground there, Andy.
We did.
Are we caught up now, finally?
We can spend some more time next week talking about Oppenheimer. I think you and we were talking during the break. We both liked it. I think it's definitely a film that's worthy of like kind of probably an A or A- in my book. Probably more like an A-. I don't think it's Christopher Nolan's best movie, at least at this juncture. I do want to see it again, but I think in my mind, Interstellar and I think Inception and even the Batman still take the cake.
One thing I want to point out too about Oppenheimer. Remember, this is his story. There's been a lot of criticism of some of the things they leave out of the story of the atomic bomb. That's not what this movie is.
No.
In fact, I saw there was a letter in the Salt Lake Tribune. Someone upset that they didn't talk more about the after effects of dropping the bomb or even drop.
I think they do. I think he deals with the fact that he's like, "What have I done?"
Yeah, but it's all from his perspective, and this is a movie about him.
I think that's people latching on to hate to hate.
If you want to see the whole picture, go listen to or read The Making of the Atomic Bomb. But definitely go see this movie. But yeah, I'm with you, Andy. Not Christopher Nolan's best, but I do. We're withholding till both of us see it again
in IMAX.
Final judgment. So we'll have that for you next week. And what's coming out next week?
We were talking about this. There's a lot that